Show. Obviously, we have a Jermaine Burton breakdown tonight, as you can tell by the fancy title going on the bottom over on YouTube or wherever you're finding me. But before we get into that, I was getting into some discussions today on social media that it shouldn't shock me at this point when I learned that there's a knowledge gap but in what's actually going on Saturdays. Is the whole reason we started the Patreon platform. There's a knowledge gap between what's actually happening on the field and what the takes are, the hot takes that everybody runs to Twitter with. The most viewed or the most seen hot take that I see about Georgia's defensive backfield this year has been about how garbage Tyson Campbell is and how Tyson Campbell shouldn't have gone to the NFL because he's not going to get drafted high and he had a bad year and yada, 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 and he can't turn his head around and this and that and this and that. And I come to learn that most people just don't know. They don't identify what's actually going on. So here's what the deal is. Georgia plays a type of cornerback technique called face guarding. Okay, what does that mean? It means when I'm playing corner and I've got a 50-50 opportunity as a ball's coming my way, instead of turning around and trying to high point the football, I'm going to maintain face-to-face contact with the wide receiver and then disrupt and break up the pass or tip the pass as it's coming in over my head or over my shoulder or wherever the ball is. I'll get my hands up. I'll rise as the wide receiver is rising. The exact play that you saw from Tyrique Stevenson, that's the cornerback play that they teach. That's the cornerback play that Charlton Warren teaches. That's what Kirby Smart teaches. And there's a couple of aspects to it, and here's why. Analytics show that coaching department that more interceptions are created by tipped and deflected passes rather than actual corners going up and high pointing the football. Looks great, don't get me wrong, but it leads, technically, per the analytics, it leads to more interceptions through face guarding, right? Causing a tipped or pass deflection, the ball bouncing up, and a guy like Richard LeCounte making the play, right? Georgia runs a lot of cover three or a lot of single high safety type stuff with Richard or J.R. Reed in the pass or Lewis Cine or Chris Smith roaming the back end, playing free, reading the eyes of the quarterback. Those guys are typically the leaders on the team in interceptions. Richard LeCounte had 3 interceptions this year, didn't play the final 4 games of the regular season. The leader on the team was Eric Stokes. All 4 interceptions came in zone coverage, I believe. Totally different aspect of what we're talking about right now, which is man-to-man coverage in face guarding technique. So what it means is turning around, jumping for the football, high pointing the ball, or getting your head around, quote, getting your head around is not what they teach at Georgia. They teach ball disruption, face guarding, okay? What it does is it limits explosives, which if you know anything about Kirby Smart, it is his MO as a head football coach. His job, or what he believes is his job as a defensive coordinator, is to make you drive the length of the field. And if I turn you over, or if I get a sack, or if you create a false start or a holding penalty and set yourself back throughout a drive, great. More than likely, you're set to punt the football. But if I'm face guarding as opposed to traditional corner play, turning around and grabbing the football, okay, here's what it also eliminates. It eliminates the yards after the catch, okay? Think about it. If I'm a corner and you're a wide receiver and I turn my head away from you, give you my back, and go to high point a football, if I miss that football, mistime my jump, miss the football entirely, tip the ball in the air, and ultimately you catch the ball, well, guess what? My back's now turned to you. You are now behind me, and I'm more than likely falling to the ground or not able to turn around and run you down. So what does it ultimately end up? If you don't make the interception, you give up a touchdown, okay? That type of risk-reward type of stuff is nothing that Kirby Smart is interested in, okay? So that's why they teach the technique that they do. And guess what? It's led Georgia to being the least explosive-prone football team that they've ever had in the last 4 years. They don't give up big plays, okay? The one big play that everyone's going to throw at me is the Jalen Waddle interception. We'll get to that eventually down the road, or the Jalen Waddle touchdown against this Alabama game, or in this Alabama game that we're going to watch tonight on this film study. It was a miscommunication in the coverage, totally different situation. Campbell fell down. Those types of things are bound to happen eventually, okay? Every once in a while, those things are going to happen. But what you can't have happen is a consistent basis, wide receivers high-pointing footballs over your corners who, spoiler alert, aren't typically the ball skills savants that wide receivers are. It's why they're playing defensive back. So they teach face guarding, they eliminate the explosives after the catch, and they play ball. That's the way they do it. Eric Stokes is in the, I think, top 100 all time in the history of NCAA football for PBUs, pass breakups in 2018. That's not a coincidence, folks. That's face guarding. That's what they do. They disrupt passes. They don't necessarily go after interceptions. That's why you see most of their interceptions coming in zone coverage. Boom. A whole rant on it because I'm tired of seeing it. I'm absolutely tired of seeing the take or the opinion that Georgia's corners don't get their head around in time. Why aren't they doing it? Well, they're not doing it because they're not taught to do it. Okay? End of story. End of rant. Now,